hey, y'all, I found this cute little bamboo wood trinket dish. It's a butterfly and it's from Dollar General and it is just adorable. And this is a Dolly brand. So we're going to change it up a little bit. I have a few ideas, but I'm not quite sure. We'll see what I do when we get to the end. It kind of changes all along the way. So we're going to take some painter's tape, and you're going to want to put the painter's tape where you don't want to get paint. So initially I started out thinking I was going to leave the edges the way they were, and so I put the painter's tape on rather than painting it first. So once you get the painter's tape on, you're going to want to take your gator, and since I'm going to be painting the inside, it's okay if it gets a little rough, but we're just going to sand the edges off so that all we have is the part that we don't want painted covered. So just take that gator and go all the way along until you get that excess removed. And then we'll move on to the next step, which is going to be painting it. If you're liking this video, please pass it on to some friends. And if you're not following me, please give me a follow. Even if you're watching from another page, it really helps out the creators to follow us on our individual pages. But you can always access them through the pages you're used to. But it really helps us out a lot. And please pop a little comment and say hi to me and let me know where you're from. And if this is the first time that you're watching me, I hope you like what you see. So I'm putting some paint on there, and just be careful how much. I got a little bit too much, but luckily I can spread that around. I should have used a little dish, but so much for that. Once you get your coat of paint on, I used Waverly plaster. Then we're going to get that dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Again, I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go, what I'm going to do. I didn't have a real huge plan. So I'm taking Waverly Night Sky, and because I wanted a purple, but I didn't have the right purple. So if you take a blue color, which Night Sky is kind of a grayish blue, and I'm taking that and I'm adding a drop of red, just a little bit of red. You can add more if you don't have the color you want, just kind of play with it. I love mixing paints. So we're going to get that mixed up, and I'm going to get the purple that I want, and that actually turned out to be quite pretty. So look at that. Once it's all mixed, then I decided I'm going to paint the inside. So the plaster by Waverly Paint was just kind of a base coat. And now we're going to put the color that I want. Now, I just love purple. And when I see purple, I think of butterflies. Although you don't see many purple butterflies. But I love it. And butterflies are just so many colors. It's so unique. Once you get all that dry, depending on what you're going to do next, that's all I'm doing as far as painting. I probably could have left the painter's tape on a little longer, but I'm just leaving it at that for now. So I'm going to take the painter's tape off, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to do next. And I'm going to, look how nice that is. So the way that I sanded it and then removing it, it looks beautiful just like that. Now, how many of you would have done something different to that or just used the dish as it was? And you might notice also that I didn't sand Dolly's name off of it because I'm going to be covering that up, and it didn't matter. But if I wasn't, I might have tried to sand that up because you can see it's embossed in it a little bit. You can barely see it, but we won't be seeing it when we get finished. So look how nice that looks, just like that. Just making sure all the tape is off, and it looks really good. That's a really clean way to do this. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to bling it up. So I have I collect a lot of things along the way, and luckily I have it in my stash. So I'm just taking a bunch of little bling pieces that I got. I think these are from, I think I got them off of Amazon or Temu. I'm not quite sure. But I'm just selecting a bunch of various colors. And they're like a stone bling in the middle. They're just plastic. It's not an expensive bling. And I'm just making sure that I have an assortment of colors in each one. So once I pick that out, I get the design that I want, and I decide if I wanted to put some other pearls or diamond-y like bling, and I did find some that are like a teardrop, so I'll be adding those too. So you just get the design you want. You could do anything. You could just put glitter on the inside. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. Do you like that bamboo on the outside like that, just like that? Or would you paint it? It was a tough decision, but because the purple was so dark, I end up deciding I do think I want to paint it. But we'll see, because what I'm going to do next after I get those all glued in, and I just do a little light dot of glue because I'm going to be adding resin. And if you haven't done resin before, don't be afraid. It's very simple. Just follow the directions, and it's just easy. It's start on something smaller, and whenever you do resin, wear gloves. You want to make sure you wear gloves and you have a well-ventilated room. So once I get the bling the way I want, I think it looks pretty good. It's all glued down. It's got a little dot of glue on the back of each one. I let that dry. And once that dries, it's ready for the resin. Now, there's a few steps that we might want to do on the way. There's so many things that I would do different after I finish this. I probably would have painted the outside first now that I realized I was going to paint it. So that's something that you might want to consider if you're going to do that. Get it all painted the way you want before you put the resin in. And so I'm just cleaning up my area a little bit. You want to make sure that you have some parchment underneath it or a tray because it might overspill. So that's an important part of it. And make sure your surface is clear because you don't want to get any little dust thingies inside your resin once it's poured. So clean surface, flat surface. I'll be putting parchment paper underneath it, and then I'll be getting the resin out to mix. Now when you do resin, you want to have something a cup or something you can measure it in, and you want to have 2 of them. I just use the Dollar Tree cups that you have, and I use the little ribbed lines on there for my markings to make sure I have equal parts, and then of A and B, and I put them inside there. But you can buy fancy little measuring cups that have the ounces on them and everything. So I just get my clear resin. This is the long cast resin. It's not fast cast. So I'm putting my gloves on, and the fast cast resin that I use turns white, and so apparently we wouldn't want to use that on this. But the clear cast resin, that's the amazing clear cast resin, it works really well. So I just measure equal parts of A and B. And then make sure you have a timer so that you know that you're going to be stirring that 2 to 3 minutes. You also do not want to stir it fast. If you stir it too fast, you're going to incorporate air bubbles in there. And it doesn't hurt to watch, if you've never done resin, it doesn't hurt to watch some YouTube videos on it because people will give you all kinds of advice. And that's just a good way to learn so that you can maybe avoid making some of the mistakes that other people make along the way. Now, because I've only done resin probably about 6 times, and each time I learn something. I've had some epic fails, and you don't want to have an epic fail on a piece that you really, really want to preserve or have it, be perfect. So I've done resin where it's turned out all milky and yucky, and it was from over stirring and overheating. And so once I get that right, make sure you have some extra molds that you can pour into if you have too much resin. That way you don't waste it because it isn't cheap. So I have 2 little molds there. They're little bird molds. And in case I have extra, I'll pour it in there. So I had another mold that I brought out after, but because this lasts a long time. You have a lot of time, a working time on this once you get it ready to pour. So it's not like the fast cast resin where you have to immediately start pouring and it starts to set up within a minute. So once I've got that all stirred up, we're ready to pour it. I'm going to pour a little bit in each section. This is self-leveling, and so I'll pour it in the middle of each piece that I'm going to do that. And see, I don't want to over pour, and so I just do a little at a time, hoping I can get it in one pour, but if not, I will be able to add. And I add from the middle because it's self-leveling, it will spread out. But if it doesn't spread to the area you want, you just add a little bit, but really be careful not to over pour. if you've done resin before and you have any tips and you see something that I'm doing that you might think, why are you doing it like that, Lulu? Put a comment in there for me because I learn from y'all too. So I'm just adding a little bit. And these extra molds that I have on the side that I'm going to pour the excess into, they have some very fine details in them. So once I pour those in the extra molds, I will be, I'll use a popsicle stick that I did to stir the resin, and I actually use it like a scraper, and I go across the mold and remove the excess. That's why you do it on the parchment paper, because if you have too much, it's going to at least push it into those little fine areas, and then it will not have any excess after that. So this is it. It's all set. You can move it in about 7 hours, and it's all set in 24. So now the next thing I need to do is, that bamboo has a little bit of glaze on it, a coat of glaze, a seal, and so I need to remove that because I want to paint the outside black, because butterflies, you see them they're black. You see the outlines of the butterflies are black, and so I decided let's go ahead and accent it like that. So I'm using just a sponge brush, and then I'll add a brush later. Now because this is resin, I could have painter's taped the resin and not made a big mess, but I'm going to go ahead and sponge and try to stay off of it. But as soon as I get the whole thing coated, I'll be able to use water and go ahead and clean the resin, the excess paint that I might have got on the resin. So all I'm doing is wiping. I'm going to do all the bamboo color, the top, the sides, the back in black. And it's going to take 2 coats of paint to do this. And there we go. So I did fast forward here, and we've got the 2 coats of paint. I'm going to go ahead and get around the sides, and it's already looking good like that, but I decided I'm going to add stickles. This is a stickles gel after I dried the black paint, and I'm going to just take a small brush and I'm going to rub the stickles gel. And what it is it's like the stickles in the tube. It's got like a gluish gel inside it that dries shiny, and it's got little flicks of glitter in it. So it's got little round circles that I'm going to try to push all the way around evenly around the outside of the butterfly. And then also it's got little flecks of glitter in there. It's almost like mylar pieces. It looks more like shiny mylar than glitter, but it's got some definition to it. It's little cut pieces of glitter, not flecks. So once I get that all coated, we let it dry. And I'm going to add some black stickles to the middle of it, not the gel, but the stickles. So there we are. That is the finished product. What do you think? Do you like it?